Okay, so here we go with our first video. Who knows how it's going to work out here? I hope you can see the board well. If you can't, please put comments in the comments section, letting me know that you couldn't read things properly. Hopefully you'll be able to see everything well, and this will go okay. I know you've watched Jake Clifford's video. I just finished watching it. He's done a great job of explaining the aggregate demand curve. He talks really fast, though. You probably had to see it a couple of times to make sure you got it all. So I'm going to go over the things that I think are really important for you to take notes on, okay? Don't just watch these videos. Take some notes on the things that I point out are really, really important. So as Jake said in his video, aggregate demand is all the stuff that we buy. So aggregate demand is the GDP, okay? And the GDP is C plus I plus G plus X sub N. The things that consumers buy, the things that businessmen buy, the things that government buys, and the things that foreigners buy from us, okay? Our exports, our net exports. These are called the components of GDP. That's a really important word. You need to remember that word components. You're going to use it a lot, especially in free response questions, FRQs, okay? Now, the graph itself. In first semester, we learned about supply and demand, and we labeled price axis and quantity axis, okay? P and Q. In macroeconomics, we don't have P and Q. We have price level, and you label it PL. In macro, always the vertical axis is PL, price level, never just a P. The horizontal axis is the total quantity, which is the GDP, the gross domestic product, okay, the output of the nation. The aggregate demand curve is downward sloping. Jake told you, and your book told you, why. Now, Jake only gave you 2 reasons why. The book gives you 3 reasons why. So let's briefly go through those again. The first one is the real balances effect, the idea that if the price level is really high, it means that my bank account won't go as far. My paycheck won't go as far. Things are very, very expensive. I can't buy nearly as much stuff. So we buy very little stuff when the price level is extremely high in the country. When the price level comes down, I look at my bank account and I say, I can buy a lot more stuff. I can buy a lot more things with the assets that I have. So we buy a lot more things. That's called the real balances effect. The second one, so that first one has really influences consumer spending. The second one is the interest rate effect. It really influences businessmen spending, or the investment spending. And that is when price level is really high, it means that people, especially businessmen, need more money to do the things they want to do. There's a high demand to get a hold of that money. And remember, businessmen usually borrow money, so that drives interest rates up. The price of money is the interest rate, drives interest rates high. So when the price level is high, the interest rates are usually high. When the price level comes down, businessmen find that they've got enough money to do their projects. They're not going to the bank to borrow nearly as much money. So interest rates come down. There's not as much demand for that, and a lot more is bought. Businessmen buy a lot more. And then the third reason, of course, that Jake didn't go over is the net exports effect. Foreign purchases effect, that obviously when things are really expensive in the United States, people in France and China and Japan are going to buy their own home products because they're cheaper than buying it from the United States. When the price level is low, they're going to buy more stuff from us. So those are the 3 primary reasons why it's downward sloping. So important things here, always label in macro your vertical axis PL, not just P, and the horizontal axis is almost always GDP. Downward sloping AD, don't label it D. It's aggregate demand, not regular demand. And the reason for its downward slope is very different than the downward slope of a regular demand curve. Those things were the substitution effect, well, you can go back and look at those. I'll have to double check on those myself. But remember that this is very different reasons for the downward sloping demand curve, okay? That's it for this first video. Let me know how it came out.